said that afterwards to Troy, and I think he has it on video, but I ran. I was like, I don't know what I missed, but I was gone.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if it was you or Troy that showed me the video, but it looked like you guys were in a war movie.
It literally, I took off. I had no thoughts. I was just like, I have to get to safety. Like, this is how I go out. Like, I'm about to meet Jesus, I think.
Welcome to the Candid Wedding Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis, a Florida-based wedding photographer. Here we talk to brides and wedding professionals to help you have a stress-free wedding day. I hope you enjoy the show. Don't forget to subscribe and share with a friend. Hi guys, welcome back. My name's Alexis, and if you could, I would really appreciate if you left us a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. It just helps to get the show out there more. But on today's episode, I have my girl Jess. Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Are you a little nervous?
A little bit. The camera.
Yeah, the camera. If it was just the mics, it'd be fine. But Jess and I have known each other for a little bit now. She's my photo bestie. We shoot a lot of weddings together.
Oh, yeah.
She deals with my husband and I a lot. But today's episode is going to look a little bit different. It's going to be a little Q&A. We asked some brides on my Instagram story some questions. Well, we asked them to ask us some questions, and we would answer them on the podcast. So it's going to be really fun. But first, Jess, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Introduce myself. Okay, well, my name is Jess, like Alexis said.
Hello. What's the at?
The at Jess Sanford Photo on Instagram. Alexis and I met, it's been like 2 years now.
Yeah, I don't even know how we met.
We met at a wedding.
Wait, at a wedding?
Well, I second shot for you.
Oh, okay. So it was like a cold, like you found me on Instagram, or
I think we had followed each other on Instagram,
Okay.
and then you DM'd me asking if I was available to second
Okay.
shoot, and I said yes, and then it was soulmates after that. Like I was obsessed with her, and
I'm obsessed with her.
we've shot a bunch of weddings since then, and now here we are.
Yeah.
Doing a little podcast together where we get to yap, which is a little bit terrifying because I'm a little bit unfiltered around you. So it'll be fun.
Also unfiltered around you, so we'll see how it goes.
We'll see what happens.
So the first question is, how can couples best prepare for their wedding day photo-wise? Great question to whoever sent this in. First things first, for me personally as a wedding photographer, I love to have an engagement session first before the wedding day, because this helps you get to know me get to know you, and we can really just get comfortable with each other. So when the wedding day rolls around, it's like we're just friends hanging out, and that shows so much more in the photos of you being comfortable with me. These are like some other random ones, but prepare details for your photographer. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like have the rings ready, the invitations ready, flowers, dress, heirlooms. I literally have my couples put them in a box and like put them in a corner so I can show up to the wedding day, grab them, leave. Yeah. Which helps a ton, so you're not like scrambling trying to find everything. And then the next one is collaborate with your photographer to make a breathable timeline.
That's good.
Good one. That's a
really
good word right there. And what does that even mean, a breathable timeline? It really just means of like have wiggle room in your timeline and know like what's actually important to you rather than like what's a Pinterest trend. So we're photographing your wedding day. It doesn't feel like a 10-hour photo shoot. But yeah, I don't know if you have any questions. Answers.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How can couples best prepare for their wedding day photo-wise?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you on the engagement session. That is just so helpful. Like we get to know each other, and it feels by the time we get to the wedding day, it feels like we're besties. And it's not the first time we're meeting, it's not the first time we're hanging out, and you've been in front of my camera at that point, so it just makes the wedding day a little bit smoother. I feel like this is not controversial, but not a lot of wedding photographers don't love this right now, but the questionnaire, like right at the beginning, I love getting to figure out like, all right, what is your love language? Like what are little things that help you guys just feel like you? Because then you can play into that, like especially like words of affirmation or physical touch, or maybe we're not as much physical touch, so you kind of like get to figure out, okay, what's best for that couple and how are we going to bring out like the most genuine things out of them that are going to feel like them when they get their photos back. I feel like that's always super helpful.
That's a big one for me. I sent out a questionnaire before engagement shoots and before the weddings. I didn't realize that it was like some photographers
don't love them.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it because I don't ever want to be making my couples uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I also, because like, I'm not going to make you guys, I never do this, but I'm not going to make you guys straddle each other in front of my camera if you're not comfortable.
Right.
I would never do that anyways. But if like they aren't so much like PDA, like I'm not going to make them like be making out in front of me.
Yeah.
Or if they really enjoy doing this hobby together, I'll like have them do it in front of my camera.
Yes.
Which is super fun.
Yeah.
Great answer. Okay, question number 2. How can we make our wedding timeline photography friendly? Good one.
That's a phenomenal question.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're asking that question.
Right? Go ahead, take the floor, Jess.
I think something that I am really big on when it comes to a photography timeline is creating space. I know weddings move quickly. I know you're trying to fit in so much in X amount of time. But I think creating extra space where you're not feeling rushed, but also like if you end up with 10, 15 extra minutes of like, okay, we're done with photos, you get time with your person and get to just go off to a corner if you want to, like stress-free, and get to move throughout the day kind of smoothly. I mean, there's always going to be hiccups here and there, but if you're able to create space and it's not super jam-packed, you're able to, give more like creative time for your photographer to work throughout the day, and you're not rushing and you don't feel like I was at a photo shoot all day long instead of enjoying my wedding. Yes. So I think creating space for sure, just as much space as you can create, honestly.
And what do we mean by like creating space? So whatever timeline you choose, we're there to do whatever you want us to do. Like you're hiring us as your vendor to provide a service and provide it to capture whatever you want on your wedding day. But by creating space, it basically, like an example of it is to not go straight from getting ready photos to robe photos to champagne photos to first look with mom, first look with your girls, first look with your mother-in-law, to dad, to first look with your fiance. It's just, that feels like a 10-hour photo shoot to me, and that doesn't feel like genuine moments where we want it to feel like your wedding day, you're enjoying your wedding day, and we get to capture it rather than like we're setting up photo shoots for you.
Yes.
Do you think a shot list is a must-have for wedding days?
I don't think it's a must-have, but I think it can be helpful.
Yeah.
Especially depending
You creating the shot list or your couple creating the shot list?
I think the couple creating the shot list, because every couple is so different. It's so unique. And they can take inspiration from like the work we have like shown them and what they've seen. But at the end of the day, whatever feels most like true to them, I think is going to be helpful. And it's helpful in the long run of just like, okay, this is kind of like what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's completely necessary. I think you hire your photographer because you know the work that they're going to produce and what they're going to give you at the end. And I think some of the best words any bride, any couple, any person can give you is like, I trust you fully in your creative vision. And I don't need to give you a shot list, but sometimes it can be helpful. Like in some cases.
Yeah. Like in slim cases. The only shot list I require is the family shot list.
Yes.
So that's a big one for me where I'm like, we're not starting until I get family
until
shot
I
list.
have one. Yes.
Because that's huge for me and for my couples. I don't want them to feel like it's chaos. Like, where did grandma go?
Right.
Why is my uncle at cocktail hour already? Just to make sure that we can bust through those family photos.
Yeah.
So people can go enjoy the rest of the day. I'm personally not for shot lists. I love mood boards, which is very different than shot lists.
Yeah.
Where if a couple shares like a Pinterest mood board with me and like they're like, this is kind of like the vibe of the day we want, rather than like these are the specific shots we want.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, if I ask like the big overarching question of why do you want these shots on this shot list, it's mostly like, oh, I saw this trend on TikTok or I saw this trend on Pinterest, rather than like it's actually important to them.
Yep.
Where if they give me a mood board, I can kind of run with that and capture their day by collaborating with them because they trust me as what they've seen that in my past work.
Yes.
But also what they're hoping to get out of their day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
Next question is how can we ensure our personalities shine through in our wedding photos? I feel like you're extremely good at this in your wedding photos. So enlighten us.
Oh gosh. How can you ensure your personality shines through? I think one, really going about your wedding day doing things that feel true to you. Kind of like what you said earlier. Not necessarily leaning into trends or things you've seen just because you've seen it. Like, does that actually feel like you? Or are you just doing it because, like, you saw it somewhere and it's cool and popular? But I think, honestly, like, I love to just get couples in very candid moments. And so what I feel, and I always tell people these are going to be your favorite photos of, like, I might give you a prompt, but then what happens after, just let it happen. And just don't even forget that I'm here. Which on wedding days, I feel like it's a little bit easy because you're just so focused on your person and you're just so in love and happy. But kind of creating space to let couples just be and do what they want to do. And sure, give direction here and there, but just letting, like, them kind of take over a little bit to an extent of just like, okay, like, you want to go run around and do this, like, let's do it. And at the end of the day, like, those are always their favorite photos because they just felt like themselves.
Truly. I feel like we kind of talked about this beforehand, but also, like, making sure that your personalities come through is making sure that they're comfortable being themselves in front of me.
Yeah.
And also sending that questionnaire again helps a ton. So I know, like, what feels like you. So, like, whatever prompts I give already feels like you. Like, we're not forcing anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Next question is, how early in advance would you recommend securing your photographer? So I don't know what Jess's is, but for me, you can book me anywhere up to 18 months out, so a year and a half, which feels crazy because I'm like, my life needs to be planned that far in advance. But in some cases it needs to be that way. So say down here in Florida, the spring and the fall tend to be the busier time of years, so like more competitive of weekends. So those times I would definitely reach out like 18 months out. But if it's like summer, usually around summertime, you can usually book it a little bit later. I don't know. What do you think?
I would agree. I right now kind of do a year out. And
I know. I feel like sometimes you're like summer of 2025. You're asking me.
Are you sure? Yeah, no, it's scary because I'm like, I barely like know what I'm gonna do next week, but I can tell you what I'm doing on X date in 2025, which is just so weird. But I think I always, and I mean, I'm being a wedding photographer, I'm a little bit biased, but I feel like that's one of the first things you should knock out, like up there with like venue, if you're gonna hire a videographer, that kind of thing. One of the first things, because I mean, I think we saw this too a lot after 2020, like with COVID and like weddings getting canceled, was just people were having to rebook and photographers were not available, or the photographer you wanted wasn't available. So I definitely think as far out as you can, a year or a little bit more, if the photographer you have in mind has their books opened, and secure that date with them. Truly.
Yeah, I feel like it's like kind of a tie between like book your wedding planner if you're going to do wedding planner, venue, and then photographer.
Yes.
That's kind of the order that I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's right, but that's my opinion. Okay. This might be a controversial one, but what is a normal price for a wedding photographer? And how do we know if someone is way overpriced or they're normally priced? I don't know if that was written correctly, but we get the gist
like
of
an
it.
average. Yeah.
My big thing is if you really love somebody's work, but their price range, like they're out of your price range. I'm trying to say that. How do I say this? If somebody is out of your price range, but like you aren't absolutely in love with their work, you can definitely find somebody whose work is similar and within your price range.
Yeah.
Like there are so many photographers out there that you will be able to find somebody within your price range, but people's prices usually reflect their demand. So if they're charging that much, that usually means that like they're getting booked for that much. Their prices would be lower if they weren't getting booked.
Yeah.
No,
100%. I think too, like beyond hiring someone for their photos. Like, you're hiring a human being, and you're hiring for them, like, they bring more than just photography to the table, which I think a lot of people don't realize. Like, you're getting someone basically the entirety of your wedding day that's going to be right by your side, and it's an experience. It's more than just, I'm going to show up with my camera and then hand you your photos. So you're paying for that as well. And like what you said, at the end of the day, like, it reflects, like, how many people they're booking, like, what everything that they're offering. Like, it's just a wide variety, a wide range. And on photographers out there, I'm like, you go, girl, like, do your thing, like, charge what you need to charge. Like, I think that's so awesome. But you can look around and you can find someone that is going to give you what you want, the style that you want, for, like, the price range that you're in.
And if you're nervous about somebody's price being too high, just think about, like, why you're nervous. Is it because they don't have a ton of amazing reviews? Is it that their photos, like, aren't as high quality as what you're looking for, or the style that you're looking for, and if they're not in high demand? But that's something that I look for a lot, is when I'm looking for any type of vendor or service, like, I'm always looking at the reviews.
Yes.
So word of mouth is the best way to find people, and
100%.
that's what Google reviews is. It's basically word of mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. What should we do if it rains on our wedding day? Embrace it, baby.
100%. 100%. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Instead of it being, like, a bummer on your wedding day, I think just, like, hey, if it rains on your wedding day, that's good luck. But also, it makes the best photos.
Yes.
It's so romantic.
Yes.
But rather than being bummed about it, I say just fully embrace it, because don't let it ruin your day. It's such a little thing to let ruin your wedding day.
Yeah, 100. I mean, you get one shot at it. Like, that's your wedding day. You can't go back and redo it. And I think in the long run, like, enjoying the rain, having fun with it, making the best out of it, you'll be happier that you did that, rather than be upset about it all day and have to miss out on the joy that is your wedding day. And trust that your photographers are going to be able to hand you some great images despite that. Like, that's what, to an extent, we're trained to do. Like, we're ready for it. If it happens, like, we're going to do everything we can to still deliver what you want.
Next question is how do you navigate around bride and groom insecurities? Is this a conversation that comes up often? So I took this as physical insecurities or being just uncomfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I've had people being like, I don't like how my arms look. Can you please Photoshop them? Or we've never had professional photos taken.
Yeah.
That comes up almost every session.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we're going to be so awkward. And I'm like, give it 5 minutes and you're going to be having the time of your life.
Yeah.
And that is true, because, like, we're trained again to do what we do professionally and to make people feel comfortable and confident in front of the camera. And I do that through giving fun prompts that, like, showcases their personality and their relationship with each other, rather than giving, like, stiff poses. But also from the other side, like, say, like, somebody's, like, insecure because they have a breakout. I will 100% remove your breakout.
Yeah.
If I always say, if it's not permanent, I'll remove it. So if it's good, like, a scratch, if it's a pimple, but if you're like, can you make my waist, like, 8 inches smaller, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to just, like, see yourself fully and see, like, how beautiful you are without me having to alter things that are permanent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like, the prompts is really good. Like you said, I mean, 9 out of 10 times I hear, we're really awkward in front of a camera, like, we don't know what to do. That's where we get to come in and be helpful with that. I've found, like, playing music is very helpful too. Like, I sometimes like to ask, like, hey, what are your favorite, like, some of your favorite songs? And I'll throw them, like, on a playlist that I have and play that. But I think, like, I mean, I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. I'm a photographer and I hate getting in front of the camera.
Same.
And so I know how weird that can be, but fully trusting, like, whoever is behind the camera to just help you feel like you, and deliver images that are going to feel like you and where you're going to feel beautiful. And I think at the end of the day, if you spend your session, you spend your wedding day worried about that, like, you're you're not going to have fun, and you're going to be like, you're going to look back and be like, oh, like I wasn't fully myself. So just like trusting your photographer and just leaning into like, hey, like we're going to have fun, and it's all going to work out in the end.
Love it. Next question is how can we make sure our family photos on wedding day go smoothly and quickly? I have thoughts. So three things about this is I send out a pre-wedding questionnaire.
Yeah.
And this is where I have you write down everybody that you want in your family photo shot list. And if you give me a ton of photos, I will ask you to narrow it down, and I'll ask for less photos but bigger group photos, if that makes sense. And then I will also make sure that the bride and groom or wedding planner communicates to the family of when and where family photos will be.
Yeah.
And then either the wedding planner, who is a godsend if they do it, or a designated family member will be the one corralling everybody and shouting out everybody's name.
Yes.
And that makes family photos be like 15 minutes or less.
And
it's
you're
beautiful.
done. Yeah.
And it's not stressful at all. It's only stressful if there isn't good communication.
Yes. No, those were literally my thoughts. I was like, if I have a list, I literally, shout out to one of my brides. I have her wedding coming up. She sent me the most thorough list I've ever gotten. And it's like a little checklist, so I can check it right off my phone when the day comes. And she's like, I have one of my maid of honor. It's like, she's going to be reading out the names. She knows who everyone is.
Beautiful.
They know that we're doing the family photos right after the ceremony. Like, we're prepared. And I was like, I cannot thank you enough for this. Yeah, I think a lot of communication from both ends, like being clear in what you want with your photographer, but then like being able to communicate that with your family so they know, like, hey, this is what's happening and we want to make it efficient, for sure.
It also helps for wedding days too, because usually parents or grandparents will be like, okay, I want you to get a picture with this person, I want you to get a picture with this person, I want you to get a picture with this person. Yeah. You can blame it on the photographer and be like, actually, she already has a shot list and we got to stick to it, instead of family photos taking an hour because your dear parents are asking you
for every
to take more
photo. Yeah, we'll be the bad guys if we need to. We will happily say no.
What are some tips for looking our best on our wedding day?
Ooh. That's a good question.
I did take a few notes. My first one was wear something that you're 100% comfortable in.
Yeah.
This goes for both wedding day and engagement photos. So if you're somebody that wears like looser fitting clothes, but then like you try to wear like a bodycon dress during your engagement photos, you will not feel like yourself. Yeah. Same thing for like your wedding dress. Say like you normally don't wear strapless, but then you try to go strapless on your wedding day and you're just like trying to pull it up all day and not feeling comfortable. That's like a big thing for me, is just making sure that you feel comfortable so then you look comfortable.
Yeah.
Delegation. So you're not stressed on your wedding day. And then again, I'm a big fan of giving prompts and candid photos rather than major posed photos. So people can feel as comfortable as possible.
That's good. I forgot the question already.
That's okay. I kind of went off. What should we consider when choosing our getting ready location for photos?
Ooh. Oh gosh. I have thoughts.
Give them to us.
I feel like for getting ready.
Yeah.
Okay. And this might I don't know. We'll see.
Clickbait.
Yeah. I feel like any wedding photographer is going to be biased. Like, I love getting to be in a space where there's a lot of natural light, and it's aesthetically pleasing, and like we can do and there's multiple places where we can do things. So I feel like right now, like Airbnbs are really popular, like finding things like that, where you can just kind of like come in, and like use pretty locations like that. But I think too, like, we're trained to make whatever and wherever look quote unquote pretty, or whatever you want to call it. And so if you're getting ready in your childhood home, like, I don't know, that's sweet. Like, it's sentimental, and like that's where you grew up and you're getting ready with your mom or your dad, whatever it is. I think just whatever is going to feel most like you. And if it happens to be somewhere that is just like big windows and all that stuff, like, that's great. But also trust that like your photographer is going to make wherever you are work.
Yeah. 2 big things for me was that you're getting somewhere that's tucked away from all the chaos. So either if it's an Airbnb totally off-site, or if it's somewhere just not near where they're getting ready for the ceremony or the reception, just so there's people not trying to come and like steal you away or get your opinion, or just random people somehow finding you. Helps you have a calm day and keeps everything on time, honestly. And then also lighting was a big one for me, and which also helps a lot with makeup artists on your wedding day. And that it's not cluttered. But usually if it is a small space that people are getting ready in, I'll be like, okay, like I'm gonna clear out this corner, and then like the bridesmaids just like hop on it and they like clear everything out. They're for so me. They're so good. But yeah, this is also a big one. Should a bride do a first look?
I feel like this is controversial right now. Like, I open up my Instagram and it's like, I will never tell you to do a first look, or you don't have to feel like you have to do a first look. Which at the end of the day, like, do what you need to do and what you want to do. I love a first look. Yeah. Do what you want to do. Don't feel pressured by don't feel pressured by your photographer. I hope your photographer is not pressuring you to do anything you don't want to do. But I am team first look. I love a good first look, because I just think it creates space for you to be with your person longer, which I've seen a lot of times. Like, the wedding day will go by and it's 6 p.m. and you haven't even seen your person, and then you only get a couple hours with them after that, which is totally fine. I love the traditional, like, come down the aisle. That's the first time you get to see each other. I will cry, you'll cry. It's amazing. But
I
think
multiple times. 100%.
I'm just like, don't question it if you just see tears like coming down my face. But I love a good first look because, I mean, it makes things a little bit easier for us timeline wise, because then you can do a lot more of the top half. But I love it more for the sense of you get to spend even more time with your person than you normally would if you didn't. But at the end of the day, do what you want to do. Don't listen to anyone else.
Listen to Jess, though. I'm pretty much on the same boat as you. I am team do whatever you want, but I will give guidance based off of what I'm seeing, what you're feeling emotionally, and what you want. So say you're like super nervous, have tons of anxiety, and you know that if you see your fiance, you're just going to instantly relax. Absolutely do a first look. And if you're also somebody that's just like, I want to enjoy a cocktail hour, do a first look. So that's like timeline wise, is like, if you do a first look, you're able to bust out bride and groom portraits, wedding party, and family photos all before your ceremony. So right after the ceremony, you can go straight in and just enjoy the rest of the day, not have to worry about anything else. But if you don't do first look, you'll have to do wedding party, family, bride and groom portraits after, and usually try to fit all that in during cocktail hour. So it really is, if it will calm your nerves and however you want the timeline to play out. But I'll make whatever work either as well. What are some tips for capturing beautiful detail shots?
Ooh.
My big thing was just give us time. If it's just like 15 minutes in your timeline for us to get detail shots, and when I mean detail shots, I mean of your dress, your invitations, your rings, your flowers, ceremony space, reception space. If we don't have time to capture them, I feel like that might reflect in the gallery that you get.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like if I can slow down and think, it's better. But if I'm like rushing 10 minutes trying to get everything, it's just going to be like the basic shots. And I don't want my couples getting that.
Right.
And I want to be proud of like the detail shots I give you.
Yeah. The first time I did a wedding by myself, I didn't realize how long detail shots were going to take me, especially like at the front half. It's one of the very first things that I do, like the rings, vow books, like whatever specific details that you want photographed. I looked at my watch and I was like, holy cow, like that took me a lot longer than I expected it.
The dress always gets me, and I'm like, where do I hang it?
Where do I hang it? Yeah. And like you want, I mean, I don't know about other photographers, but I love like moving around, like not staying in the same place, and you're like doing different combinations of details. So I would agree. Yeah. Letting there be space and time for that. If that's, especially if you're someone that cares about the details and cares about those being photographed, for sure.
What are some tips for capturing emotional moments throughout the day? I also have thoughts on this. My big one is having a second shooter on your wedding day. I think that really allows us to capture the emotion of the day. In my pre-wedding questionnaire that I send out, I ask who are 5 to 10 people that you'd like me to focus on that aren't in your wedding party.
That's good. Yeah.
Because then I'll know, like, oh, that person is grandma, or that person is, like, your godmother, just so I know that who are people that are close to you that you would appreciate more photos of, rather than me focusing on this random +1 that's, like, tearing it up on the dance floor.
Yep.
But that really allows me to get the emotional photos throughout the day, is because I'm usually the one focusing on the bride and groom, where my second shooter, I, like, usually have them in charge of getting the emotion of everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. I think, too, just letting things happen and letting them play out as they would, and letting the emotions that come with that be. And if that means you're ugly crying during, like, a first look, or, like, whatever it is, those are honestly really beautiful moments, and they get to be photographed, but just let them happen. And don't be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm crying, or I don't want that photographed. Like, it's honestly, like, that's what, I don't know, I love getting to capture those moments, like having those raw emotions, and those things happened, like, they usually happen without any sort of direction from us, which is really cool. So just, like, letting the day play out and feel all the emotions. I'm a big advocate for that. I'm a big feeler. I will cry right along with you. But just letting it happen and embracing those emotions that come up throughout the wedding day.
Also, from the photographer standpoint, I feel like as I mature as a photographer, the more hands-off I become. I used to be that photographer where I was like, oh, let me get your shoes on for you. Let me, like, help you get into your dress. Let me go fetch dad. But there are people that are part of your wedding day that want to be involved and want to help you and want to take on those roles. And, like, how much more, like, emotion does that add to your day to be able to have, like, your aunt go grab your dad, or your mom help you into your shoes, rather than me.
Right.
You don't want your photographer helping you into your shoes. Like, I think I'm helping you, and you probably, like, appreciate it during the time, but you'll appreciate it looking back so much more.
Yeah.
In 100%. The photos, somebody else helping you. Okay, so last 2 questions. As a wedding vendor, do you expect a tip?
Okay.
Going straight for it.
I'm going to be honest. No. Because I didn't even know that was a thing. So
until now?
Until I, like, heard about it. I didn't realize that we were tipping our photographers. It's happened to me a couple of times. It's happened to me before with second shooting, which was really interesting. I was like, that is really nice. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, wow, okay. I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest. And there have been, like, a couple cases where I'll have, like, couples afterwards, like, they've already paid me, and I suddenly, like, get a Venmo from them or something, and I'm like, oh, whoa, like, I wasn't expecting that. I feel like right now I don't go into it expecting it, but I think that was just because I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know we were tipping our photographers, but maybe you should be tipping your photographers. I don't know.
I can't speak to I can't speak for other vendors, but I can speak for myself. I never expect a tip because you are already expected to pay me a good amount, and I factor that in to the price I'm already charging you. Yeah. So I never expect it. But if I ever do get a tip, I am very grateful. I call that my fun money.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, I never expect a tip. But I honestly don't know about other wedding vendors.
No.
I know that it used to be a thing, like, where all vendors got tipped, but I feel like it's, like, getting, like, more and more away from that. But yeah, I think it's like 50-50 where I get tipped. But again, I never expect it. So if you don't tip me, I won't be mad.
Do not feel bad. No.
Okay, last question. Is there any crazy things that have happened at a wedding? Jess is laughing. Because one time I had a wedding already booked, and I got an inquiry for another wedding on the same weekend. So I'm like, you can book me, but you're going to book an associate of mine. So it'll be through my company, but a different photographer will be there. Yeah. Jess was the photographer.
I was there.
Troy was, my husband, was the videographer there. So Troy and Jess were working it together. Do you feel like explaining it to the people?
Yeah. So it was a Vietnamese tea ceremony. which was really cool. I had never like photographed or been a part of any of those, but anything that involves getting to be and learn someone's culture, I think is really cool. Like that's something I'm very passionate about. Like let your culture shine through. I love that. And there was at one point in the day where there's something where they bring over a pig, and they like present gifts to the bride's family, I believe. And we were photographing it, and we just weren't really sure of what was about to happen next. And so I was kind of standing on one end. And there was like these fireworks or whatever, poppers, I don't even know what they were.
They were straight fireworks.
Fireworks that are like right behind me. They light them without letting us know that they're lighting them. And boom, 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 I thought I was dead. I thought I was being shot at. I was like, this is where I die. I think I said that afterwards to Troy, and I think he has it on video, but I ran. I was like, I don't know what I missed, but I was gone. Like, I took off, and I was just like, what just happened?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if it was you or Troy that showed me the video, but it looked like you guys were in a war movie.
It literally, I took off. I had no thoughts. I was just like, I have to get to safety. Like, this is how I go out. Like, I'm about to meet Jesus, I think. I had been looking at these fireworks. I had seen them on the door. Like, I was like, we'll probably light these at some point today.
It was also the middle of the day. It was like noon.
Yes.
So, like, it was just weird.
Yeah, it was
weird,
noon.
but it was just like, oh, you didn't expect fireworks to be going off at noon.
No, I'm focused on the pig.
Yeah.
I'm focused on these gifts that they're presenting, and ba-bam, fireworks.
Well, the dad lit them, and he didn't tell anyone that he lit them, and it was just
Yeah.
chaos.
So, if you're gonna light fireworks, let the people know, and don't do it with close proximity to other people, because I really thought that was the end of my life.
It was so funny, too, because I was shooting another wedding, and I'm just getting these texts from Troy and Jess. We're like, oh, we have some stories for you. I thought we just died.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I was ready to meet Jesus, but I remember I went home and I was telling my friends, I was like, I feel like I'm in a fever dream. I don't know if I was being pranked. I think I was. Like, Troy has it on camera, but I was like, where are the other cameras that are getting this? Because clearly they were out to get us, I think. They weren't. But yeah, it was a very interesting.
Oh my gosh, that's
very
hilarious.
interesting time. Yeah, really.
I don't think I have anything. The only, you had a great story, and I'm glad that happened to you.
You're glad that
I'm not glad I'm glad you had that experience and you lived to tell the tale.
Yeah.
The only crazy things that have happened to me is just random uncles hitting on me or stuff. And that's always so uncomfortable because you can't really run away.
No.
But you can't be rude, but you have to kind of skirt.
Mhm.
And that happens too often. And I'm like, do I just exude come say hi to me?
Come flirt. And I once had somebody, it wasn't my wedding, I was second shooting, but I once had somebody come up to me. I was walking with my dinner plate, and he was like, I just have to tell you that you're so beautiful. And then proceeded to stand right next to me, shoulder to shoulder.
Wait, how old were they?
Oh, he was probably late 20s.
Okay, not,
But then he started talking about when one day we were going to be saying our vows to one another. I blanked. I was just staring off, and I was like, our vows?
No, you're not. You're
our
kidding.
vows. And I was just like, oh, wow, we really asked me out first. Our vows?
Oh, wait, I actually have one, and Troy was at the wedding with me. This old guy, I'll call him, he was in his 80s. He said, put your camera down and dance with me. And he literally pulled me out onto the dance floor, chest to chest, dancing with me. And I was looking at Troy the whole time to come and get me. Troy was just standing there watching.
Just letting him out. Please tell me you got it on video.
No, I'm giving him the eye signals of come save your wife. Your wife.
Did you sleep on the couch that night?
No.
No.
No. Do you have any other crazy ones?
I'm trying to think. It's all gonna hit me afterwards.
Fortunately, I have all my couples are amazing, and usually the people that surround them are also great.
It's so good. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever had anything else crazy happen, to be honest. No.
That's okay.
I mean, I want to be like unfortunately, but I guess it's more fortunately than unfortunately.
Right. Well, guys, that's all we have for today. I hope that we gave good advice, answered your questions in full. So happy that you were on the podcast
I'm happy
with
to
me.
be here. I loved
so fun.
it. Yeah.
Again, thank you for watching the podcast, and follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, The Candid Wedding. That's the @ And you can also follow us on Instagram. My @ is Alexis Photography. Jess, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Jess Stand for Photo.
Perfect. Have a good day, guys.